From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is U.S. Farm Report.
Welcome to U.S. Farm Report this weekend. I'm Ty Morgan, and here's what's in store over the next 60 minutes. President Donald Trump is sworn in with sweeping executive orders and deregulation.
It's warp speed. It's even faster than I thought.
Trump's pick for Ag Secretary also testifying in Washington this week.
I believe I may be the most well-versed in how the interagency process works of all the cabinet, of how the discussions are handled.
The biggest takeaways and potential impact on ag. What are the largest barriers to growing even bigger yields?
Hope's a strategy, but it's not a good one.
Two farmers known for growing monster yields get real about how to dial it in for planting. And a kid who has only one of 29 of these unique tractors ever built.
Thank God for, again, the power of Facebook and the internet. We was able to source a lot of parts from all over the place to put this one together.
A special story for one unique tractor you'll only see in Tractor Tales. Now for the news. The biggest news is out of Washington this week. We have a host of news to cover, but President Trump's pick to head the USDA was questioned by the Senate Ag Committee this week. This was Rollins' confirmation hearing after being tapped by Trump to lead USDA in late November. During her hearing, she emphasized her dedication to agriculture. She clarified her stance on ethanol and the renewable fuels standard, saying she'd be a secretary for all of agriculture and championed for all fuels. She also talked about addressing current animal disease outbreaks as well as modernizing and realigning USDA.
We must immediately begin to modernize, realign, rethink the United States Department of Agriculture, responding to the clear needs and the desires of the American people as set forth so well by the President of the United States over this last historic week.
During questioning, Committee Chairman John Bozeman of Arkansas asked Rollins about her approach to working with President Trump's trade agenda. Rollins committed to supporting farmers in case of tariff-related harm. She would do so by tapping Market Facilitation Program payments to assist any farmers impacted by trade disruptions, just like USDA did during the first Trump administration. Meanwhile, President Trump taking sweeping actions during the first week of second presidency, just hours after being sworn in. It started with a series of executive actions. The president rescinding 78 executive actions from the Biden administration, a freeze in federal hiring, except for the military. He also signed an order directing federal employees to end remote work and return back to the office, and a regulatory freeze to halt bureaucratic rulemaking. He also ordered federal agencies to address cost of living concerns, formally withdrawing the U.S. from the Paris Climate Accord. He gave TikTok a short reprieve from being banned in the U.S., withdrew the U.S. from the World Health Organization, declared a national emergency at the southern border, also declaring a national energy emergency. And one part of that order directs the EPA to consider issuing emergency fuel waivers to allow for year-round sales of E15. While signing those executive orders from the Oval Office, President Trump announced he may enact 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada and 10% tariffs on China starting on February 1st. We'll look at the tariff talk coming up in our Farm Journal report. U.S. lawmakers also introducing a bill this week to revoke China's trade designation. A bipartisan group of lawmakers introduced the bill to revoke China's permanent normal trade relations status. That status is the legal designation in the U.S. for free trade with a foreign state and was first granted to China 25 years ago. The bill follows Trump's executive order this week instructing the Commerce Secretary and the U.S. Trade Representative to assess legislative proposals regarding the future of China's trade status. The nation's top poultry producer is now dealing with an outbreak of avian flu. It's the first detection in a Georgia commercial poultry flock since the outbreak started in 2022. The Georgia Department of Agriculture confirming the virus at a farm in Elbert County. That's about 100 miles northeast of Atlanta. In reaction, the Georgia Department of Agriculture says all poultry exhibitions, swaps, meats, and sales have been suspended as a precaution. There is currently cleanup underway and nearby operations are under quarantine. Well, California withdrawing a rule that would have phased out sales of new diesel-powered semis. Critics of the proposed rule say it would have been a massive cost for farmers in the state. The California Air Resources Board announced last week it's withdrawing 4 requests it submitted to the EPA. One of those would have phased out the sale of diesel-powered semis and buses in the state by the year 2036. That's it for the news. Snow in the deep south. We have a check of that and when we could see a warm-up. That's in weather coming up next.
U.S. Farm Report is brought to you by Pioneer. The Pioneer lineup of corn hybrids packs 100 years of innovation into every bag for a home field advantage that delivers higher profit potential and winning yield potential. Your best year starts with Pioneer.